Hello all YouTubers, I am Dweller Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning back into this Tropical Storm Gonzalo discussion for July 24th, 2020. Before I get on with today's video, however, it would really be nice if you guys did hit that subscribe button. I really cannot believe that I hit 800 subscribers already, so thank you guys so much. And we're on our way to 900 and eventually, even more exciting, the big 1,000 subscribers. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as ringing the bell notifications so you will not miss my next video. Also, please do watch the whole video because this does help my channel grow significantly. So please do watch the whole video and liking and sharing this video as well. Thank you. Now let's get on with today's video. Today we're going to be talking about Tropical Storm Gonzalo and how it will be impacting northern South America as well as parts of the central and southern Leeward Windward Islands here. We're going to talk about who's going to be getting affected and the impacts that we could be seeing today, or excuse me, tomorrow afternoon as this makes landfall. This will probably be making landfall in the islands at the same time Tropical Storm Hannah will be making landfall, which hopefully after this video you guys will watch my two other uploads for today. Please do watch those after this video. I talked about Tropical Storm Hannah, and I will be talking about Invest 92L, my other two uploads for today. I do have a very concerned viewer over in Belize. I don't believe that if you do happen to live in Belize and you're watching this video, I don't think you'll have to be too worried because this will be weakening to a tropical depression by Monday, and it's just recently entered the Caribbean. This isn't forecast to become a hurricane anymore. It's going to be maintaining, as you can see, it's weakened to 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds. It's been battling some shear. It's moving at a very fast clip, too, 18 miles an hour. I do want to kind of call this a nuisance for the islands, but it's still a dangerous threat because we can still be seeing some gusty winds passing 50 miles an hour. You can still see a couple inches of rainfall, still some high waves, maybe even a little bit of surge, maybe about a foot storm surge. And we'll see if it goes under, if it weakens through tropical depression. That's what happened with Harvey. Yeah, tropical storm Harvey forming through here the longest time, 2017. It died and it respawned to a Category 4. So we'll see if that happens with this, if it can re-strengthen. But for now, it looks like it'll be weakening through Monday. But it will be making landfall on the central and southern islands, northern South America, going right in between them. 2 p.m. Saturday, bringing tropical storm conditions. So let's zoom in here. You see the black S's on the map, which means tropical storm conditions, but exactly how strong will this get? Well, we're talking about 45-mile-an-hour winds, wind gusts to 60 miles an hour. Before this was calling for 70-mile-an-hour sustained winds and gusts passing 80, but that does not look like the case anymore because Gonzalo was now weakening. Actually, I do believe in one update this had 50-mile-an-hour winds, so I think it's definitely on the weakening side now. Because it's weakening, the chance for tropical storm force winds has also dropped, but we still do have this is kind of like what I don't quite understand because Bridgetown, they might even drop the tropical storm warning. They might even drop it for Kingstown as well because, as you can see, they are outside of that region where we could see tropical storm force winds. They are outside of that because dark green means at least a 5% chance to see tropical storm force winds, and they're not even inside of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kingstown, especially Bridgetown, will get dropped out of that tropical storm warning. We'll have to see. But St. George's, okay, what we're talking about here is like St. George's and Scarborough. I can't exactly don't know how to say that exactly. Scarborough, okay, but Scarborough and St. George's, you definitely need to be kept inside of that tropical storm warning because you are not only in the cone. You can still see effects outside of the cone, but not only are you in the cone, but you do have about a 30 to 40% chance to see tropical storm force winds. Yet still, because the center will be passing right by you. Okay, and even Port of Spain, even Trinidad and Tobago, okay, even northern South America, we could be seeing tropical storm force conditions will get pretty close. So your earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds will be Saturday morning for near Trinidad and Tobago, maybe through the islands, maybe around noon, just like where Hannah's about to affect Texas, pretty much similar time here, around noon and 1 o'clock. Tomorrow afternoon, so these will be hitting at the exact same time. That's your earliest reasonable time. Your most likely time is more so Saturday afternoon, but the earliest reasonable time is the time where you need to be prepared to start seeing tropical storm conditions. So some key messages now that these are updated. This will be bringing tropical storm conditions across the southern Windward Islands tomorrow night. Again, tropical storm warnings are issued for some of the islands that are in the storm's path, but still, Windward Islands should monitor progress of Gonzalo And again, just like Hannah, follow advice given by local officials. This will still produce heavy rain over portions of the southern Windward Islands, and because of the terrain there, we could still be seeing life-threatening flash flooding. That is not out of the question. All right, so looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies, that's the thing. Sea surface temperature anomalies are still a degree over 2 degrees above average, or a degree to a degree and a half above average, Celsius. But I think our problem here is the shear. But with that when we still got these warm waters, the shear doesn't cut down the rainfall totals. Category 5 hurricane can produce the same amount of rain as a slow-moving tropical disturbance. All right, that warm water, the energy, the moisture we have in the atmosphere, that warm water leading to that rising air, we can still see some very heavy rain regardless if it's a tropical storm or a hurricane. But still, warmer than average waters, we're talking about 29, 30 degrees Celsius, which is very similar to Hannah's water temperatures, maybe just a little bit less for Gonzalo. But either way, 20, 29, 30 is plenty warm enough. That's mid to upper 80s here. So, yes, this has now been refreshed and looks like, again, 40-mile-an-hour winds currently with wind gusts to 50 miles an hour. Pressure's gone up a little bit to 1,008 millibars. Still a relatively, medium-sized storm, a little smaller than Hannah. 120 nautical miles radius of circulation. Now, here is your satellite imagery. As you can see, it is starting to lose that convection. All right, probably because we're starting to head towards the evening now. But the convection, I mean, that really made me think with the daytime heating, we do get some flaring of thunderstorms, and yes, that can happen. But it looks like we're starting to lose a little bit of convection. I mean, I'm actually starting to see some southern wind shear maybe, because I'm starting to see some of the cloud tops, some of the outflow boundaries being blown off towards the north of the storm. So I think what's happening is we're starting to get some south-southwesterly shear, and I think that's taking all this convection away from Gonzalo and leaving it with a little patch of convection, and maybe whatever's left over here is starting to hit the islands, but that may not even be linked to Gonzalo. All right. So as you can see, we found some 40, 45-mile-an-hour winds in the strongest bands of the storm system. But again, about 1,008 millibars of pressure. This is the Hurricane Hunter. This is the Air Force 304, mission number 1. This is a low-level reconnaissance mission into Gonzalo, and I'll pull it up bigger for you. As you can see, flying about 45 to 50 knot winds, which sometimes it goes over a little bit. So you translate that, it's about 40 to 45 mile-per-hour winds. Obviously, these are peak 10. So if it says 45 knots, this is the way I like to do it. This is kind of like the way I look at it, because this is how I kind of like predict what National Hurricane Center will be for the next update. So what I like to look at is, see how it says 45 to 50 knots? So 45 to 50 knots translates to about 50 to 55 miles per hour, basically. And when I see that they pick up 45 to 50 mile an hour knot wind speeds, that for me means 45 to 50 miles per hour. And that's usually what actually happens in the next National Hurricane Center update. So the technique that I use does help, and maybe you guys should try it out as well, if you want. But that's kind of like my technique in predicting the next National Hurricane Center update, because the NSG update is dependent on this, the Hurricane Hunter flying into the, I mean, some very brave work those ladies and gentlemen do, because without this, there'd be no National Hurricane Center updates. We'd be kind of going off of a rough estimate here. So looking at where Gonzalo is now, if this doesn't start making its little northward turn soon, because it's sitting at exactly 10 degrees north latitude, this could steer right into northern South America, near Trinidad and Tobago. It's sitting at about 54.5 degrees west and 10 degrees north exactly. How about its model tracks here? Let's get some nice model tracks in here. As you can see, taking it well south of the islands here, right in between Trinidad and Tobago and the Windward Islands. But what happens after that? The models, some of them haven't gone near Belize, Mexico, Central America. The cone starts to really open up by this point. But who knows? It may only be a very weak low by then. It may not even be a tropical depression by then. We'll have to see. Let's look at the GEFS tracks here. And some models are being pretty gutsy and kind of taking it into the Northern Caribbean. Some taking it to the Gulf already. But you can see by those blue and those teal lines here indicating a very weak storm, greater than 1,005 millibars of pressure. But in the short term, this could even be weakening a little bit. But heading towards, we're talking about those southern islands. So for me, I will be able to go over. So again, Kingstown, Bridgetown, all in those tropical storm force warnings. We'll see. St. George's and that other Caribbean island I cannot pronounce. I believe it is Scarlet. Let's just call it Scarlet. I think I'm going to call it Scarlet. All right, for sure. So I think that'll help me pronounce the island better, because I'm sure I might be able to mention it throughout the video. So let's take a look at some more GEPS tracks. And these tracks have it steering more towards the Yucatan Peninsula. more towards Belize, through Mexico, and even through Texas over the next week. We'll see how much this storm holds together by then. Like I said, this could be kind of like a copy of Harvey. Not in the sense that it'll produce 50 inches of rain, but in the sense that it could weaken from a tropical storm to a depression, even remnants, and then fire back up again. Because if the Caribbean is conducive for conditions, sure, this could refire back up and move over the Yucatan. We'll see. But for now, we're kind of focusing on the part of the storm that's moving through Trinidad, Tobago, and the Kingstown and Bridgetown and on the Caribbean islands. So here is some of the model intensity guidance for Tropical Storm Gonzalo. Keyword here being that this is a tropical storm. This should still be taken seriously, even though it won't become a hurricane or near hurricane. Still some very dangerous winds here. Models kind of all over the place, hovering right between a tropical storm and a tropical depression over the next couple of days. Some still taken to the Category 1 hurricane. And this is I just refreshed this. This is the latest 18Z update. But we'll see. But that could be maybe like it'll go down and start refiring back up. That's what a lot of the models are saying. This is becoming a Category 1 by, 7 days out. All right. In terms of the short term, we definitely know that in the short term, this won't become a Category 1 hurricane unless the wind shear somehow drastically changes. So let's take a look at the rainfall rates for some of the MSLP here for the GFS model. As you can see, right now, we got about a half inch of rain per hour, as you can see by these somewhat heavy rainfall bands on the northeast side. Like I said, this could be weakening, then starting to strengthen a little bit. I'm actually going to try and get the latest GFS run. No, this actually is the latest run. But this is the 12Z run. This is kind of like from earlier today. It's kind of latest they have. I think that once they put out an 18Z model run, I think this will definitely change. But they still think that we could see a decent low pressure system make its way onshore, right near, just south of Kingstown, right over St. George's actually, just south of Kingstown. If I remember correctly, this is Bridgetown, this is Kingstown. There's St. George, and there's Scarborough. I'm going to call it Scarborough. I think that's actually what it is. Because part of the map was cutting off the letters and I couldn't quite see it. I think it's actually called Scarborough. But anyway, moving through the Caribbean, then moving, and then it said it's going to move into South America and die. But like I said, that's kind of far out. We're not really focusing on that yet. So as you can see, it was pretty strong, but then look what happens. Starts to weaken a little bit. We still got maybe a 50 knots. GFS actually being nice to this thing. 55 mile per hour winds. Maybe even upon landfall, we could be seeing 55 mile per hour winds even upon landfall. But I don't think the winds are number one threat. I think the rain and the waves and the surge, or the very weak surge, but rain and waves, that's going to be our number one threat here with the storm system. Then again, moving through the Caribbean as a very weak tropical storm / tropical depression, but this could still be a moderate tropical storm upon landfall. If it can get its act together, you'll be seeing on these, well, I forgot the name for it. This right here. All right, you'll be seeing there that there's the ship's diagnostic message. Thank you. I'm honestly just losing my mind. The ship's diagnostic message at the wind shear. We'll be taking a look at that and see how it goes. So again, looking at the satellite imagery, you can see still a blossoming area of convection just south of Bridgetown, moving in through St. George's and Kingstown by the time we head towards, say, 9 o'clock. Then notice how the convection sort of dies away, though, as it moves. So maybe moving over the islands somehow weakens it. Maybe it could, if the storm center happens to move over one mountain, that could weaken it, potentially. So taking a look at this, the cyclone vorticity signature, I can't zoom in because I have to be able to switch between map loops, and also that doesn't really provide that. But looking at the cyclone vorticity signature, you can see once it passes over the islands, moves into the Caribbean a little bit, and it kind of just dies. Then it kind of takes its very weak remnants into Mexico and Central America there, just south of the Yucatan. That's some very weak remnants, and we'll see what emerges off of that over the next week, if anything does reemerge from this. But there's Hannah over there, looking very strong, looking very mighty, moving into Texas. Here's the ship's diagnostic message. You can see that the wind shear will go up. We're talking about close to 20 miles an hour, which is enough to, kind of dampen the storm a little bit. I think also some dry air starting to get into the system. I actually think that could be a problem as well. Because if you look at the ocean water, like I said, 28, close to 29, that's still low to mid 80s. That's not bad at all. You got some decent looking heat content. Matter of fact, going up to 90 potentially in the near future. So near max heat content, moderate to high. But another thing too is that the storm is moving pretty fast. All right, 20 miles an hour. So this storm will be gone as fast as they got there for the islands. So that's why the rainfall threat won't be too high, but still, Even though a faster moving system means less rainfall, that doesn't mean that it can't produce a lot of rainfall in a short amount of time. And I want to get that through people's heads because we see fast moving, we see severe weather moving at 70 miles an hour, which is rapid moving severe weather lines, and still they still produce nearly half a dozen inches of rainfall. So it can still happen no matter how fast it is moving. Yes, this does reduce the rainfall totals because it's moving faster, but that doesn't mean we can't see flooding at all. That's the point I want to make here. So here's the gem model. All right, and you can see it, the storm just dropping. Actually, I think it'll actually be better if I go to tropical land because you'll be able to see the storm a lot better. So there it is, and you can see the gem model really does nothing to it at all. I mean, there's the low, and then that's it. It just dies over the island. So the gem model has even less confidence in the system than the GFS does. So let's go over the tropical land here. Let's kind of look and see. I mean, as you can see, that's it. The storm's gone. It moves through the islands. It's pretty much gone. It's done its business. It's gone. So let's look at on the satellite imagery. Maybe it'll give us a little better view. You can see there it is. All right, it's moving through, just passing the islands here, and then it gets caught up in some shear and then carried out to sea. How about the Cyclone Vorticity signature? You can see that it just makes it a very weak system, and because it just skims the coast of North and South America, Trinidad and Tobago. That is I think that's what's gonna weaken it for the gem model. I think that's what sold it to them. It's saying that this really won't form that much. They're still calling for 1 to 2 inches of rainfall for central and southern Windward Islands. Matter of fact, let's go back to the GFS model. I think we'll be able to see that a lot better. How much rain we could see there. Going to total accumulated precipitation. Yeah, they still say 2 to 4 inches for Bridgetown, Kingstown, St. George, and Scarborough. All right, so that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you guys for watching this coverage of Tropical Storm Gonzalo. Hopefully, I'll be able to keep you guys updated on this, but this will be moving through the Windward Islands. This still can be a dangerous threat, so watch for 50+ mile-an-hour winds, maybe still a couple inches of rainfall. There's still some very high waves, so definitely don't want to be on the beach. Rip currents is always a threat. Whether it's a low pressure system, whether it's a hurricane, rip currents are always a threat. So still be safe. This is not a storm to look down on. I think this will be definitely like a nuisance, a nice tropical storm to put a damper on your plans, but please be careful, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time, catch you guys in the next video. Please don't forget to watch my Tropical Storm Hannah and Invest 92L videos as well. See you guys in the next video.